My name's Leslie Landon Matthews, and I played Etta Plum on Little House on the Prairie.
And now I'd like to introduce you all to your new teacher, Miss Etta Plum. Miss Plum.
Thank you, Mrs. Wilder. Good morning, class.
Good morning, Miss Plum.
So my first acting job was The Plague, and I think I was 12 years old at the time, and my scene was with my dad.
Mr. Ingalls?
And from there, I played Nellie's best friend in the election.
I second the nomination.
And then I also played a pregnant woman on a stagecoach.
I'm Mrs. Lauren, Marge.
Adam, Kendall, and this is my wife, Mary.
Glad to meet you, Marge. Likewise, I'm sure.
With Mary and her husband, and the stagecoach goes over the cliff and Mary has to go find help. I think the pregnancy one was a really great, challenging part. I had to really feel that the baby that I was carrying was possibly going to die.
God, please save my baby.
So when it came time to audition for the school teacher, Etta Plum, for Little House, I had already kind of had my feet wet.
Jason, that is very, very good.
Thank you, Miss Plum. It was really quite simple.
I know a lot of people think, oh, you know, to play the school teacher and your dad is head of the show, you probably didn't even have to audition, but I did have to audition. So I was the last school teacher for Little House on the Prairie because I think historically, but I'd have to look into it for sure, but I think at that time, women who were married, and especially since they already had children, they couldn't continue on teaching. I don't think that was a thing that was normally done then. So if you noticed, even looking back at older teachers that played on Little House, they were single women. So the episode that my dad wrote with Patricia and Neil is also one of my favorite.
It's really very simple. I always felt I was too ornery to die, but it seems I was wrong. God must have found some good in me, because he's calling me early.
Having him focus on the loss of a parent, I think, was an important episode for him to do. And her having 3 children, obviously the other parent had already died, and then it was just her, and her worrying about where her children were going to go.
Anyway, I wanted to let it be known that they'll be needing a family.
So the lines that my dad had written was, "Remember me with smiles and laughter, for that's the way I'll remember you."
If you can only remember me with tears, then
don't remember me at all. I actually said that at my dad's funeral. Yeah. I think my dad wanted to have a show that allowed people to feel everything. You know, obviously you laughed. There was so much comedy, especially when dealing with the Olsen family. But my dad really wanted people to feel things and to feel grief and to feel struggle and to feel anger and to feel all those things. He made it real, and his writing was real. And then if I thought about a part for Etta Plum, it probably would have been the one between Matthew Laberteau and I.
Albert, would you take the last problem, please?
I remember in terms of doing that scene with Matthew that it was going to be a very emotional, tense scene, because when people are on drugs, there is an anger. They're almost not in control of who they are, because obviously Matthew cared for me as a teacher and as a person.
In the second column, you've got to carry the 2.
It's a lot easier if you wrote them down.
Well, maybe you ought to borrow Jason's glasses.
And when I go in to try to stop him from having this massively anger outburst that he was having with another kid, he turns around and hits me in the face. And You know, my dad was very passionate about that particular story, and my dad really wanted to show the importance of being real with one another and not pretending someone doesn't have a problem when they do, and to face that problem head on with everybody being around and being loving. You want to feel that you're going to always get out the other side, that you're going to have the people that you go through life with, and that there's going to be a loving place for you to land and to be able to keep going on. If my dad had been alive to write a memoir, and if it was specifically to talk about his legacy of work, I do think he would probably be most proud of Little House. I know he went on to do Highway to Heaven. I think he would have loved that he gave everyone a show that they could always sit down with their family through generations and could appreciate the beautiful writing, the beautiful story. I mean, obviously it was based on incredible books by Laura Ingalls Wilder, but to this day, I still have so many people say, I wish there were more shows that were like Little House, because I think people felt love sitting there and watching a show that was about loving people.